Welcome to The Savage Truth with Cicely Davis. I am your host, Cicely Davis.
Welcome back, Savages, to The Savage Truth. I am your host, Cicely Davis. Thank you so very much for joining me for another episode. And here we go again. For those of you who are new to the channel, new to the show, thank you. Welcome. Thank you so very much for taking the time to spend time with me to join in the conversation. Sit back, relax, join in on the conversation, right? Bring somebody else with you when you return next week. And then tell somebody about the show. Let's increase this whole Savage family. For those of you who are the ride or dies, the returners, the one who are here every week tuning in, thank you so very much. You are the reason that I do what I do and why I enjoy it so much. Now, whether you're new or returning, I have an ask. It is always this, consistently, to please like, share, subscribe, and leave a positive review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And let's get into it. Let's get into it because we have heard from Sleepy Joe Biden. Well, folks, Sleepy Joe Biden has finally broken his silence after a cancer diagnosis. And in true Biden fashion, he did not disappoint. He assured us that he is still mentally competent, which is sort of like the Titanic reassuring us it's watertight while mid-sink. I mean, if the guy has to say it out loud, we've probably already passed the exit ramp on that highway. Nothing screams confidence like having to convince people you're coherent, especially when you've spent the past 3 years shaking hands with invisible people and calling out for congresswomen who died the year prior. And let's talk about timing, shall we? Nothing comforts a nation quite like a president cracking jokes about his mental facilities while battling cancer and an approval rating lower than a DMV Yelp review. Honestly, Biden trying to reassure us he's okay feels like a lot like when your grandpa insists on driving to church, even though he still thinks it's 1974. Except this grandpa had the nuclear codes and signed $1 trillion spending bills like they were birthday cards. But the real kicker here is now the media swarms to this like a moment of bravery. They're already rolling out the red carpet for another season of The Empathetic Grandpa, starring Joe Biden, of course, as the ever-relatable everyman who forgets where he is, but remembers his cue cards. You've got to hand it to the Democrats. They can spin a guy numbing through teleprompters into FDR with aviators. If Biden announces tomorrow that he also has amnesia, I fully expect CNN to haul it as a powerful symbol of humility in leadership. Look, we wish anyone well. We don't like to hear anyone coming down with such a disease like cancer. Look, we wish anyone well who's facing a health scare. But let's not pretend that this is about medical resilience, okay? It's about political triage. Biden and the Democrats know that they've got a crisis of credibility, and now they're trying to distract from policy disasters with sympathy points. Meanwhile, the rest of us are left hoping the Secret Service is also trained in elderly care, because what America didn't need was a commander-in-chief who cracked jokes about his competence. We actually needed one who actually had it, like we do with Donald Trump. So there's a former police chief of Arkansas who has escaped from prison, and his name is Grant Hardin.
So Grant Hardin has been on the run since last Sunday when he escaped from North Central Unit Prison in Calico Rock. Today marks exactly 1 week that police officers have been searching for him all across northern Arkansas. On May 25th, Hardin escaped using a makeshift police uniform and walked out of the prison. Hardin was a former police officer and was in prison for rape and murder. And after starting the reward for information on his whereabouts at $10,000, it has since reached up to $25,000, which is where it stands now. And officers believe this is a testament to just how dangerous he is.
He's a former Arkansas police chief, a man convicted of rape and murder. He just walked out of the North Central Unit in Calico Rock on Sunday, dressed up like a corrections officer. Yes, you heard that right. The same Biden-Harris system that was more concerned about misgendering inmates than securing actual murders somehow let a dangerous criminal waltz out in a DIY badge and uniform combo. And now law enforcement is back on the hunt playing catch up with a man who never should have been able to see daylight again. Hardin wasn't just any old prisoner. He was serving multiple decades for the 1997 rape of a school teacher and the 2017 murder of James Appleton. Now, that brutal rape was disturbing enough to become the subject of a 2023 documentary, Devil in the Ozarks. And now the sequel might be playing out in real time. How does a man with this background even get close to anything resembling freedom? It's a slap in the face to victims, a slap in the face to the families and families who still believe in protecting and serving. This is what happens when a system built to uphold justice is just too busy virtue signaling to notice it's falling apart. We've got violent criminals slipping through the cracks while everyday Americans are micromanaged, overregulated, and told they're a problem. Enough is enough. It's time we return to basics, folks. Secure prisons, real consequences, and a justice system that protects law-abiding citizens, not the monsters they look up or should be locking up. Now, here's the question. How did Hardin escape in the first place? He escaped from a facility located about 130 miles north of Little Rock at 2:55 p.m., which was local time on May 25th, according to the Department of Corrections. Champion said about 20 minutes passed before the officer discovered Hardin was missing. Hardin escaped through a security entryway wearing an ADC-type uniform, and the Stone County Sheriff's Office actually confirmed that. A photo shared by the Sheriff's Office shows Hardin pushing a loaded cart. Now, here's to hoping he is found soon and very soon and returned to a high-security prison where he absolutely belongs and never gets out again. Michelle Obama's back under fire. Listen to this.
Women's reproductive health is about our life. It's about this whole complicated reproductive system that does, the least of what it does is produce life.
Oh, Michelle Obama, forever reminding us that being First Lady apparently qualifies you as a philosopher, biologist, and spiritual guru. In her latest deep thought, she claimed that creating life is the least of what women's bodies do. Right. Because bringing a human being into existence, nurturing it in the womb, surviving labor, and then raising it isn't quite as impressive as, say, hosting a podcast or dancing with Ellen. Honestly, this is the kind of take you get when feminism drifts so far into abstraction, it starts resenting biology itself. Now, from the party that can't even define what a woman is, we now get a lecture that childbirth is just a side hustle. Now, apparently, the miracle of life doesn't quite rank as high on Michelle's list of achievements as, say, a Netflix deal or a Vogue cover. This is peak progressive elitism at its core, minimizing the sacred, glorifying the self, and pretending that motherhood is some outdated burden rather than the cornerstone of civilization. The left talks about empowering women, then sneers at the most powerful thing a woman can do, create and nurture life. Now, let's be clear, there is nothing least about giving life. It's the most selfless, difficult, and essential act in human history, in the human's ability. Something no policy, no protest, or progressive panel discussion can replicate. But when your ideology demands that all roads lead to self-accusation and careerism, even motherhood becomes inconvenient. Michelle might be trying to sound enlightened, but to millions of mothers, especially those who sacrifice daily for their families, she just sounds dismissive, disconnected, tone deaf, and more than a little ignorant. Actually, Michelle, creating life isn't the least of what a woman's body does. It's our superpower. Giving birth is not some side note in the story of womanhood. It's the actual headline. It's the one thing no man, no machine, and no political ideology can replicate. The ability to grow, carry, and bring a new life into the world is nothing short of miraculous. It's strength, it's sacrifice, and divine design all wrapped into one. Downplaying that doesn't empower women, Michelle. It erases what makes us uniquely powerful. Say that on your podcast. Caitlin Clark is back in the news, and not the way you think. Now, she has a rivalry with a fellow basketball player named Angel Reese, okay? And this is the latest in this saga, also known as the only time ESPN pretends to care about women's sports and manage to turn it into a political debate. On one side, you've got Caitlin Clark, a record-breaking, humble, laser-focused athlete who's actually drawing eyeballs to the WNBA. And on the other side, we have Angel Reese, who seems more interested in turning every play into a TikTok moment and every game into a personal drama. It's like watching Michael Jordan versus a Real Housewife with a jersey. Now, let's be honest, Caitlin Clark has become the face of women's basketball, not because she's white, and the media loves to insinuate that, but because she's great. She doesn't need antics. She doesn't need taunts. She just drops 30 points, signs autographs, and carries the league's relevance on her back, quietly, like a professional. Meanwhile, Reese, with her constant side eyes and media pity tours, wants to be the villain and the victim at the same time. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to read about. It's exhausting to watch. It's exhausting to hear. We already have LeBron for that, okay? At the end of the day, this rivalry exposes everything wrong with identity politics creeping into sports. People aren't cheering for Clark because of her race. They're cheering because she delivers points. She puts the ball in the basket, okay? The fact that this even turned into a cultural flashpoint says more about the media's race-obsessed agenda than it does about two talented players. Maybe if the left stopped trying to manufacture division, we could all just appreciate some good old-fashioned competition. One three-pointer at a time. And that, my friends, is a savage truth. Let's look at some savage soldiers coming home. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a positive review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And remember, as always, to be bold, be strong, be faithful, be true. Till next time, I'm Cicely.
The Savage Truth with Cicely Davis is a production of Front Page Magazine and the David Horowitz Freedom Center. Reproduction of this podcast without express written consent is prohibited.